Welcome to Fundamental Journalism Skills Writing, Part 1. We're going to talk about the basic elements of a journalistic piece today. On the website, you have available to you, as always, the vocabulary. In this case, I like to call making it soar for the first section, and then we'll talk about the rest in part 2. Making it soar, summary and paraphrase of material, observation that you glean from actually watching the subject in their environment, attribution, meaning direct quotes from an interview of your primary source, research from your secondary sources, and then sometimes opinion if you are writing a piece that requires opinion. We're going to take a look at a piece written by RJ Media reporter Riley O'Connell in 2014 for the elements of SOAR. Let's take a quick look again at what those elements are before we analyze this article. The first element, which I've indicated here in yellow, summary and paraphrase. Information from the primary source, the interview, which is not directly quoted, but rather either summarized, shortened, and the information, or paraphrased. It acts as a transition for you, and it's when we want to include information or details, but not necessarily quotes. Observation, direct observation of your subject or at the event. Attribution, these are the direct quotes that you use. They should add emotion, depth, and opinion to the story from your interview source. And then finally, research, your secondary sources here, documents, requested files, polls, research, published works, facts and details about the particular topic that you have looked up and incorporated into the story. So let's see how Riley does this in this story about U.S. citizenship and naturalization, the first paragraph. It's a Friday night in Regis Jesuits Lou Kellogg Stadium, and the national anthem is playing. The entire stadium is singing along Hands Over Hearts. RJ student section, led by the Rowdies, begin to loudly chant USA. This, of course, from Riley is not a quote. It's not research. It's direct observation. She was there. She witnessed this, and so that's observation. Now, the second paragraph here is one that's interesting, and I want to talk about it for a minute. We pride ourselves in being both Coloradans and United States citizens, but when it comes down to it, do we really know what it means to live in the land of the free, the home of the brave? She's directly asking the audience a question here and using the we, the royal we here, and tell you the truth, it does not fit under any of these summary, observation, attribution, or research, and therefore we can't mark it. And it probably shouldn't be in the article. We don't really need it. If you think about the first, the lead, it's a great observation lead, and then the next paragraph, getting into this kind of first and second person writing is a little tricky, and we'll talk about it later, but I would just take it out. Third graph here, throughout the naturalization ceremony, several soon-to-be citizens are brought to tears, some even dancing. Young children twirl their miniature American flags, and their parents smile as they hold on with one hand, the other firmly over their heart, pledging allegiance to the flag. Some more great observation. She attended the citizenship and naturalization event that she was writing on. Of course, you always want to be where the scene of the story is, and that's great observation there. Although their journeys are different, all 41 of these immigrants are experiencing a dream finally becoming a reality. Also observation. She witnessed that, she saw that, she heard about it. And then we get our first quote. Making people citizens of this country, it's beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing we do, says USCIS Denver District Director Christy Barrows. So we get the attribution there, the identification, a direct quote. It's powerful. It deserves to be quoted from Barrows. Really nice. The last step along a long journey, citizenship, is the payoff after months, even years of work. Barrows says the process here in Denver takes about 7 months from the time that you file. So that's also from the interview, but we don't quote it. It's not necessarily powerful or nor does it add emotion or depth but it does need to be said in its details about how the applicants get to this monumental day. Barrows said it in the interview. O'Connell, the writer, summarized it. And then we get further into what it takes to become a citizen. So everything you see here that we are highlighting in pink is research, secondary research about how long it takes, how long you have to live in the country. This is information. I remember talking to O'Connell about this information she didn't get from Barrows or from the ceremony, but that she researched on her own. Moving on, one Denver Irishman, Kieran Brady, knows firsthand. His wife, June Ann Curry, is a natural-born citizen. They left Ireland in 1986. However, once they came here, they realized there was no better place for them. Is this a quote? No. Is it research? No. It's from the interview with Brady, but it's summarized. And then we get the quote. I would say people born in the U.S. don't realize what a great country it is. I believe it still is the land of opportunity. If you are prepared to work hard, you can be anything you want to be, achieve your dreams, whatever they might be, Brady said. So notice the attribution there, the comma inside the quotations, the last name Brady, and then the word said. Very simple. See how O'Connell chose what to quote and what to paraphrase from the interview. Again, here we have another summary from the interview, not quoted, and then a quote. Denver is my home now. Short, powerful. It's a back and forth between, in terms of including information from the interview, it's a back and forth between summarizing details and facts that the interview subjects give you, and then quoting the depth and the power and the emotion of their thoughts. Again, here we see Rosengarten. We are going to summarize. She told O'Connell in an interview, hey, I've been here for 25 years, naturalized during my senior year at Boston College, but that's not necessarily quotable material. It's basic information. So we're going to summarize it. This is what we're going to quote. It was difficult leaving the only home that I had known at that point, but my father was already living, working, and studying in the U.S. on a student visa. So when the visa for my mom and I became available, we joined him. Rosengarten knows how lucky. Now, you just saw there a split quote. We saw Rosengarten said in between two pieces of her quotes in the blue up there at the top that you can still see. I wanted to talk about that. We'll talk about that again later. Summarized more of Rosengarten's interview, and then here's another split quote. So I get emotional every time I hear the national anthem. Rosengarten says, period. And then the second part of that. Putting the attribution in the middle, Rosengarten says, really splits up that quote and keeps us with the story. I consider voting an important privilege, and so on and so forth. Now we're moving on to our next interview subject. But we have some observation mixed in here. CU Boulder law student Kelly Adams was emotional during the ceremony. Observation from O'Connell, and it's probably why she went up to talk to her, because she saw her during the ceremony being overcome with emotion. Seeing how excited everyone was to be a citizen really drove home what a privilege it is to be a member of this country, she said. In the U.S., there's so many freedoms that we enjoy. So O'Connell probably witnessed that, observed it, and then went up and asked her a question about her emotion. That's good reporting right there. And then we go back to Barrows here. Barrows knows, she wants young people to know that living in this society, immigrants are all around us, and that respecting and embracing each other's cultures is critical to our great country's future. Now, Barrows said something like this in the interview, but it's not directly quoted. It's summarized in O'Connell's own words, leading into our kicker quote. We end the story with a direct attributed quote from Barrows. Every person, every interaction that we have, not only with people that live here permanently, but also people that are visiting here, gives an impression of America that is important in the bigger global picture. We call that a kicker quote, ending the story with a strong attributed quote, so attribution there. Now, if we take a look at this article, let's zoom out here and see the back and forth between all of the SOAR elements. Once we get into the meat of the article, you really see it's a summary and paraphrase, an attribution back and forth. When we talk about GQ studs, we're going to talk about it being lead, transition, quote, transition, the LQ formula. But here we certainly see that back and forth as well. Got some observation mixed in there, research, summary and paraphrase, direct quotes. Nicely done. We're going to take a look at another story here done by Eagle Quill newspaper at Eagle Crest High School just down the road. A nice story, a simple story, a really well done story though, with a lot of depth on the soccer team practicing yoga. You're going to take a close look at this story for the quiz in this section and look at how the writer uses the elements of SOAR, summary, paraphrase, observation, attribution, and research, to go back and forth and craft an award-winning story on the soccer team. It's on the website. Have a close look. Label the SOAR elements for each of the sections that I have color-coded and labeled and numbered for you. And we'll talk about it in class. Thanks for watching Fundamental Journalism Skills Writing Part 1. I'll be back with you for Writing Part 2, and we'll take a look at some more quality feature writing and talk about how to turn your stories into GQ studs.